Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? Today is Saturday, March 23rd, 2024. I pray that this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I am doing well. Thank you for inquiring in your mind. I was originally planning on doing a walk with me episode today. I was going to go down to Redondo Beach and had my whole little subject matter set up in my head. And I got outside and started running some errands and realized that it was really, really windy. It was raining earlier to start the day. And then as the day progressed, it got really, really windy. And one thing I know for sure is that a lot of wind in the background trying to talk and walk is not going to be a good situation. So this is the this is meeting the middle ground, if you will. This video, it's some of the things I wanted to talk about in the walk with me video. It's some other things that I have just kind of thoughts and things collected over the last week or so, or however long, and just some ideas that have come to me in recent days based on things that are happening in the collective consciousness. I actually don't even have a title for this video yet, which is really honestly, I this might be the first time that I've done this. I can't even remember how long, to be honest. Because normally I can't even do the video until I have a title. Like I'm stuck. I know what I want to talk about. I know what I want to say, but I can't really move forward until I have a title. So, ironically, I do not have a title for this video today. But it's all good. As you can see, this beautiful scenery in this video. I absolutely love this footage, which is drone footage from around the world of beautiful um, nature. And I mean, just, oh my goodness. So this is also a compromise. Compromise was the word I was looking for before. A compromise, the nature setting to compromise for the nature setting that we were going to see today at Redondo Beach. But I am going to sometime this week do a walk with me because I want to take in as much footage and do videos that are again surrounded by nature and the beauty of Southern California while I'm here, and also continue to experience. When I was living in my apartment, I was at the beach 2 or 3 times a week, walking at least, and I haven't been now in probably since the last walk with me at Malibu, I think. Yeah, that was the last time. So I also need to do that for my well-being. And I know that there is a very strong and powerful resonance. I almost even went to just sit by the beach today. And but yeah, anyway, I decided not to do that. But there is a very powerful and humbling and deep connecting experience that comes with the beach and that comes with Mother Nature. And I think that as we continue to grow and evolve into deeper levels of ourselves, which these times are absolutely demanding and commanding, I think that being tapped in with nature and spending more time with nature is going to be critical. Like my spirit right now is restless. It's so ready to move around. And I know it's not quite time for me yet, just because I know I haven't gotten the green light, so to speak. But my spirit is very restless and ready to go out and to be back connected to an environment that is more focused on nature organically, right? Than it is city life. Like I'm really, my spirit is yearning for that. And probably that will resonate with a lot of you guys. I know that a lot of the, the stress and the strain that a lot of us are feeling is coming from living in these inner city environments because they're very dense. And remember, I've been talking about the morphic field. Maybe I should put morphic field in the topic. What do you think? I mean, it sounds like an intelligent science word. Thanks to Mr. Masaru Emoto for bringing that into our collective frame of reference. I know he didn't create it, but I'm just saying that's why it came into my uh, um, purview, if you will, as we read that book in our last book club for our last book club selection. But the morphic field and that concept of the collective consciousness and the frequency and vibrational resonance of all of us as beings and the impact that it has on an individual level, and then also the impact that it has on the collective. And so, those of us who are striving to walk in the light right now and to live in truth and to be in alignment with the higher goals and aspirations um, of God, if you will, of Source or the universe or Allah, the Neteru, the Orishas, the ancestors, the collective divine mind that we are all a part of. All those things that I just said, we are all a part of. It's not separate from us. It's not something that's ruling over or governing us. We're all an active, collective part of that. And so our vibrational resonance as individuals and as the collective matters in the shaping and formation of our world. On a physical level, on a spiritual level, Mother Nature, look at how tremendously Mother Nature has been impacted and is being impacted by the behavior and the insistence to be primal and operating from the lower nature of humanity. Not all of humanity, because Lord knows there have been many righteous ancient civilizations that have been in harmony with our planet. But we can't even just blame it on a white man anymore. Are they in harmony and alignment with our planet in the hood? I go back to Oakland, I get depressed every time. There's so much trash caked up in different parts of Oakland. And this is literally one of the most expensive cities to live in the country. And now I saw a video, some brothers are actively going out and cleaning up in the community, which was a tremendous, I saved it because I'm probably going to put that in the next headline news when I do the next love episode. It was a beautiful, like it made me feel really proud that there are, because every time I go back, I'm like, why is nobody actively, why is the community in the Black Lives Matter, which started in Oakland with two Oakland representatives, women, and just the men in the community and the community, the politicians, and Oakland being a very liberal city always, and Black conscious in one way or another. But I'm saying all of that to say, not just in the hood, but in urban areas. And it's interesting when I go to New York and I see all of the trash that gets stacked up on the sidewalks for trash pickup. And it's a necessity, right? It's just the way that it has to be in order for things to flow smoothly. I know if I lived in New York, it might be a little thing that I might have to get used to, but I would definitely be making sure my trash was out when it needed to be out. But I'm saying the cities, even sometimes when I'm moving around in LA and driving around, they have a very harsh, dense frequency, a heavy frequency. And now we're living in the time where all of us have to be individual and collective. So let's be mindful as I'm talking today that everything that I'm saying, I'm talking about myself, but then I'm talking to you as an individual, but then I'm talking to all of us collectively that are going to hear this message. Because we have the power and the potential to direct a large bandwidth of consciousness if we set the intention. That's the purpose for the fasting. That's the purpose for the putting love out into the world challenges. That's the purpose for the yoga challenges. That's the purpose for doing headline news and talking about things that are actually happening in the world. That's the purpose for the group meditations, which, by the way, will be resuming next month. I had to take this month off because circumstances and having house guests and et cetera, et cetera. So, and I'm also thinking about shifting the times around, maybe fluctuating the times that we meet on that particular Sunday once a month, and maybe doing it earlier in the day. And maybe I can even be somewhere out sitting in nature and doing the meditation with you guys as we view a beautiful, organic um, environment setting, outside setting. So I'm considering that, but it will resume next month. But I'm mentioning that because that's the purpose of those things. Did I say yoga challenge? I can't emphasize that enough as how important for my well being and state of mind. So the individual and then the collective, the morphic field. So we're living in these cities with all of this dense energy, and then the more disappointed or frustrated or fearful or doubtful or hopeless the people that are living in a certain proximity are. That's in a citywide environment, but then that's also in our households, even more so in our households. This is why we've seen post 2020 a very, very, very strong tear, TEAR, in the fabric of families. And in the last Ask Me Anything, hopefully you guys have listened to it. One of the questions was about dealing with a family member who's a narcissist and someone who is basically making mockery and wishing unwellness. That's not a word, but we gonna rock it today. Wishing unwellness to her sister, like something's gonna happen to you because you wouldn't take the shot. That type of vibe. And one thing that I didn't say in that video, and I wanted to, um, I have a lot to say. I don't always sort of make the full point, but I wanted to make sure that I know that we have to deal with the fact that our family members and people in our community and et cetera, politicians, government, everything. Well, maybe I won't include them in it, just the interpersonal relationships. A lot of people made choices because they were uninformed or because they were ignorant to, the bigger play at hand. And there's absolutely 100% a space and a window for atonement and for um, retribution, if you will. Just talking about physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually cleansing, detoxing, and healing and purifying yourself after having made that choice. But it's going to take very strong willpower and intention and focus in order to make that happen. And I also want to say that now that in 2024 a lot of the information has come to the surface, I don't really think there's the window for not knowing is closing, right? After all of the reports of people who've taken the shot and who still ended up with COVID, et cetera, et cetera. So that window is closing. And as with everything else, as with all spiritual lessons, self accountability is going to be critical and key. So I don't think I said that in the previous message. I wanted to make sure that I was balanced because we're talking about people we love. This is not like, the coworker that you've been working with for 5 years, you like her, but you can live without her. No, not that. Or even, long standing job. No, these are people that are embedded that we chose before we even came here to be a part of our experience. So it's not just black and white, and it's not just a simple thing. This is that passage in the Bible that talks about the separation of the wheat from the chaff, or the wheat from the tare. This is exactly what's happening, where man and husband will be separated while laying in the same bed, and mother and child, and et cetera, et cetera. I know I'm butchering the scripture, but y'all know exactly what I'm talking about because we're watching it unfold. Do we have the mental and spiritual and emotional and physical fortitude to withstand those experiences, regardless to whom or what? That's the question that is peeking beneath the surface for all of us right now. That concept of really being in this world and not of this world. Carrying ourselves in an upright posture in the midst of darkness. Who's up for that? Because there's 1,000 ways. They're rewarding you in every direction if you're willing to compromise yourself. Trust me, I have ample opportunities awaiting me in several different directions. All I got to do is just compromise my integrity just a little bit. Ignore that voice in the back of my head that's warning me and telling, or or cautioning me, and do it for the reasons that everybody else does it. So our spiritual peripheral vision, I've used that language before, our intuition, along with the courage vibration, because courage is critical right now. Remember the video that I played of Sloan Bella where she was referencing Kanye West's honeycomb mind? And that was I don't even know if it conveyed what I was trying to, what I experienced when she said that, because it was partially about what she was saying, but then there was like 1,000. I'm exaggerating, but it deserves an exaggeration. There's like 1,000 thoughts that beamed in my head from that concept of the honeycomb mind. She was talking about how um, they had shattered his mind in so many different directions using these different forms of mind control, MK Ultra, etc. I don't think she said MK Ultra, but maybe she did. But she was talking about how they had splintered off his mind, and so we're seeing in all of these different sort of episodes of him at different times, we're seeing the splintering of that mind, the honeycombing of that mind, right? And that concept really stuck with me because I can see that so clearly in so many different aspects. I'm going to say of American life in particular, just because America's where it's all going down. It's going down all over the world, but this place is special for a multitude of reasons, because this is where the most wickedness is happening. This is where the most savage, brutal, unsavory reflections of humanity manifested itself right here in the Americas, Babylon. So this is, but then also there's a special people here. Then also there's a continuity of history and culture here, and suffering here, and connection to the land here. So the honeycomb mind. I'm watching this thing play out with Candace Owens, right? And I'm going to talk about this in headline news tomorrow, so I'm not going to really go too in depth about it. But the bigger point of what I'm seeing happen, it really kind of underscores the honeycomb mind for me, and not just in particular Candace, but the way that things are unfolding in the in the media sphere, in the social media spaces, in the with all these different pundits, right? Political pundits and influencers and celebrities, et cetera, right? So I'm seeing a very polarizing reaction to Candace Owens, which is interesting because every time I've posted a few videos of her over maybe the last year, maybe two or three, where she was talking about something that I either agreed with or something that I wanted to kind of use as a point of reference to start a conversation on. And I believe that every video that I've posted of her has gotten at least one sort of very strong reaction in opposition, maybe not to what she said, but just to who she is, right? And so same thing happening here with the when I posted her interview with the Breakfast Club, which I found a very interesting and engaging dialogue between them. And but just to see the polarizing reactions that it's having on so many different levels, right? While simultaneously a so-called attack happens in Russia, while simultaneously we're seeing um, I would say an unraveling of some sorts, and in the mind and in the heart of many people, particularly the people who are not spiritually focused, which is the intentions of the so-called powers that be, for sure. So I'm looking at, and I know you guys can see it, and I know you can feel it, and I know you are experiencing it with friends and family members, or so-called friends and family members, right? And then here you are, or here we are, striving to be better, to do better, to live righteous, to not be a part of the mainframe, if you will, to be a glitch in the matrix. And it seems like the mountain, look at that, a mountain appears in the background. That's synchronicity for your, you know what. Here you are, just trying to do right and live right. And it's like the mountain won't end. Heavy, 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 heavy pressure on us, those of us that are striving to live and be righteous. And when I say strive and live and be right, I'm not talking about praying 5 times a day or being, just zoned out in meditation all the time, or, or ascribing to any particular methodology. I'm talking about in your mind and in your heart, actively being intentional about being a better person, about contributing something good to the greater good, about expanding your mind, about adding value into all of the spaces and conversations that you go to, about working on your shortcomings, about dealing with your emotional, I was about to say immaturity, but that's too strong. Emotionals, you know, um, I can't say shortcomings either, because affairs of the heart have a different, they take a different level of delicacy, so to speak, and whether it's an affair of the heart with being in love or having your heart broken, or relationships between parents and children, or grandparents and children, or just the people that we hold near and dear to us. And I was thinking that I'm looking at the polarization of the Candace Owens response, right? Sometimes when I'm working, I have YouTube on, and I'll just let, I don't have the autoplay come on in the what's up, whatever's up next. And so I just let content play. And the algorithm suggests a lot of different topics for me, because I'm always searching topics for headline news. And a lot of it is, some of it can be from, web hip hop blogs to gossip columns, to what's going on in the, just in celebrity culture, right? So I get a lot of suggestions. And so now it's auto playing while I'm just moving around, working around. And I'm watching a video of someone who, I'm not going to say their name, but it's a very, very, very popular social media commentator who is bragging about the fact that she is has information and is going to release information that's going to break up the marriage of a very high profile Black man. And she's like salivating in the video. She's like very gleeful about it. And I'm assuming maybe something happened in the background with these people. I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know all of the details, but I'm just in my I'm thinking, what, why is there never any backlash for that? You know, we talk about code of conduct and certain ways that we should be conducting ourselves in these spaces and things that we should and shouldn't stand up and represent, etc., i.e., all of the reasons and rightfully so that Black America has a disdain for Candace Owens. And I've expressed my dismay on several occasions at different points in terms of things that she has said and done. I've acknowledged that she has absolutely at different periods been tap dancing for white people unequivocally. I've acknowledged that the whole, you know, I was happy that she exposed Black Lives Matter because I too exposed Black Lives Matter and it needed to get exposed. But then at the same time, not being able to just, you know, while you're talking about this whole George Floyd situation, not be able to acknowledge that it's wrong for this white dude to have his neck on his knee on this man's neck for 9 minutes, like he's sitting down eating a popsicle on his lunch break. So you went through all of those lengths to prove that he was this and he was that and et cetera, and you couldn't say that. Yeah, that's a problem to me. That's a lack of balance. With all of that being said, and there are other circumstances and situations, she is one of the very few people that actually had the kahunas to talk about what was going on in the pandemic post 2020. She's and this actually, this video isn't even really about her because I said I was going to talk about, I am going to talk about that in headline news, but I'm bringing this up because I'm seeing the honeycomb mind really sort of come into this full space, this full sort of, it's becoming more tangible and more visible and more obvious. So if we need fortified minds and powerful minds that can outwit, outthink, and outplay, which let's be clear, we do. I hope everybody that's listening to me has processed that. I hope you know what I mean? Something in your soul and your spirit has acknowledged that this is the hour for powerful minds that can outwit, outsmart, and outplay whatever needs to be outwitted and outsmarted and outplayed, even when it's our lower nature. So we're talking about powerful minds cultivating and fortifying ourselves to be able to step into that. Powerful minds may or may not be listening to Candace Owens or any of the fallout that has happened as a result of everything that's going on right now. Powerful minds are not emotionally tied up and wrapped in and angry about and frustrated with any of that. Just observing, watching, being mindful. I have watched so many people over the last 4 years, including the guy Sasha Stone that I post. I'm a member of his subscription channel, and I've also met him and, you know, appreciate a lot of his work. But I have also, he has a platform called the Guerrilla News Network, where he interviews and talks to basically his, you know, very active middle America, most of them being pro-Trump, middle America, white America, that are sort of fed up with everything that's happened post 2020, and that awakening sort of energy within middle America, the Bible Belt, etc. But every now and then, I guarantee you that there's going to be somebody that's going to say or do something that's going to let me know that this is the good old boys type of situation. And so I'm saying that to say that I, over the last 4 years, have become acclimated to listening to people that I don't agree with everything about, just in order to find either things that I find of value or information and data that is needed to have a deeper understanding of whatever the subject matter is, and then to find points of agreement, right? Because there's a much bigger play at hand. And I'm saying all of that to say, acknowledging that we in the Black culture are inundated nonstop with pundits, with commentators, with tea sippers, with influencers, with celebrities that are doing a lot of speaking a lot of language and inflicting a lot of harm and or conflict or behavior in our culture, and we don't address it at all. Cardi B set up and had an interview with the now president of the United States, and then turned out and put out a soft porn video during the pandemic called WAP, and we didn't address it at all. So I'm just saying, we can pick and choose what the things that frustrate us, right? Or we can be intentional about the way that we're operating in this environment so that none of this shit frustrates us. It's all a show to me. They're all controlled opposition in one way or another in my mind. When I say they're all, I mean, I've been vocal about Candace Owens and talking about the fact that she works for an institution that has limitations, as we can now see. But there is a genocide going on halfway across the world. And she is one of the very few people that have used her platforms and obviously lost her job now to speak up for something that was right. She's one of the very few people that actually spoke up against the COVID-19 vaccine. For me, that you get extra points for that, because I'm surrounded. We're surrounded. And now I'm not just talking about the people on social media. I'm talking about everybody. How we handled that. Did we become purveyors, or did we become, messengers of truth and information, whether it was on a platform type level like me, or whether it was on a mom and pop local level within your family, within the people that you care about? The stakes are high. And I have a few videos that I want to play for you guys. I got a message from somebody on Instagram. I played this video. Let me just bring up my honeycomb video because I thought this was a nice little background vibe while I play these other. I got a message from somebody on Instagram. I played this video in my story. I'm going to play the video real quick, and then I'm going to tell you what this guy messaged me and said.
You cannot be humble if you do not know your power. If you do not know your power, you're not humble, you're just afraid. You're not humble, you're just compliant. The only person that can be truly humble is the person that knows their strength and knows their power, and chooses it to serve, chooses to empower, not overpower. I believe kindness is one of the highest values that I know that I have in my life. When you have strength and you're kind, that's where it perplexes the world.
I got a message from a brother that has been interacting with me for some time now. I can't say that I know him personally, just, you have people who you can go back and look and see an ongoing conversation with. And so I post that message in my story, which was there anything that was said that it was a powerful 30-second clip to me? share, right? Oh, I don't trust. I respect your wisdom, queen, but I don't trust anything coming from those devils. Da 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 da. So again, we have gossip columns. We have pundits that have been promoting poison and all kind of insanity in our culture. We have an ongoing continuity of problems and issues. And then here I am, always the black face in any space I go to. This is why and I don't know if anybody, has ever pondered this in terms of the type of content I share, or if I share a Joe Dispenza or a Greg Braden. I mean, not that, this whole platform is about truth and about finding ways to be in alignment with our higher selves and to to come out on the other side of this crazy life experience with our dignity and sanity intact and closer to God and closer to self. So the idea now that we're still locked in race-based consciousness, which I've been talking about, and it's not that racism doesn't exist. No, I know I don't even have to say that because I talk about it all the time. But if in the quantum realm, the things that you say, the places where you focus, where your emphasis and your energy and your attention and your intention goes, is what's actually creating what manifests in the physical reality. At what point do we start to hone in on that spiritual science and make that the law in how we're governing our own personal lives? So when I'm saying mental, spiritual, emotional, physical fortitude and fortifying ourselves, fortifying meaning actively, right now being mindful, right now asking the questions, right now doing the fasting, right now being introspective, right now turning off the TV, turning off social media and sitting with ourselves, right now being in nature, right now meditating, right now figuring out what we really, truly, authentically want in our lives. Right now, dealing with the fact that we don't feel well, that we feel anxiety, that we've been living with ongoing stages of depression or sadness or chronic pain or chronic illness. Right now, not tomorrow, not when so and so and such. Right now. I'm tired of talking about the problems. What's the solutions? I just told you. There are spiritual implications and ramifications for wherever we in the individual and in the collective consciousness. And the trajectory can either be going up towards love, towards abundance, towards well-being, towards being surrounded by people that we don't have to be guarded with. Did I say abundance? I'm going to say abundance again. There's a trajectory and a train heading direct in that, straight in that direction. And then there's a trajectory heading in despair and oppression and self-abuse, self-neglect, lack of self-awareness. This is why for me, if you ain't talking about self-accountability or speaking language and providing content and information that is raising people up into their personal power, then what's the point? And I'm saying that, acknowledging that I just told you that sometimes I just sit back and listen to mindlessness because I don't want to think. I just need something playing in the background to, my brain operates on multiple levels. So like my lower brain can be active while my higher brain is doing some answering emails or doing some other type of work or focusing on cleaning up, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. That's actually a powerful reflection of how powerful the brain is, the ability to multitask.
I'm someone that's exploring the idea of becoming a mother.
Yeah.
And it's petrifying because I don't want to mess it up.
You will. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. My question is, no matter how much healing you have, it seems like you're still going to mess it up. And also, what could it look like for a society to be as healed as possible and bring the next generations into the world?
When you say you're petrified, you're very scared, right? Here's how I'm interpreting it. You're not petrified of the future. You're petrified of the past. Stuff happened to you shouldn't have, or stuff didn't happen that should have. That be accurate?
Yes.
And that's what you're afraid of transmitting and perpetuating on your children, right?
Yes.
You mind telling me how old you are?
34.
How old were you when your mother and father took on the job of getting to know themselves so as not to pass on their traumas to you?
I'm 34 and I feel like they may be starting now.
Okay, you're 34 and they're starting now. What would it have meant for you if your mother had asked the same question you just asked me before you were born? What would that have meant for you?
Not being scared to exist in my household?
Yeah, it would have meant everything, yeah? You've already given that gift to your unborn children. You got nothing to worry about. You just keep doing it. A therapist once said to me that if your parents gave you this much shit and you give your kids this much, you've done a great job.
My apologies. I meant to have his name. When I saved this video, I was planning on, I had a different plan originally for this. Anyway, I don't have his name is my point, but I can get it if anybody is interested. But before I respond to what he said, I wanted to add on to what I was saying because I lost my train of thought in terms of the guy sending me the message talking about not trusting white people, right? White voices. And then I started going into different people that I listen to, Greg Braden, etc. So here's the thing that I want to make sure, not that that person is listening, but to make that point, and in the bigger point about the honeycomb mind, right? I represent Blackness in every space that I'm in, whether it's on camera, whether it's just hearing my voice, whether it's doing headline news, whether it's doing events, whether it's writing a textbook that is full of nothing but Black people. The books I've written, like everything that I do from top to bottom represents my people. So for me, sharing the insight or the wisdom or the guidance of any other race in any other culture on any other platform takes absolutely nothing. Or I should say, we have this thing where we automatically think that we overpraise white people, right? Or they're the ones who we think are the brightest or the sharpest, or so we listen to what they say more than anything. No, this is these are all spokes in the wheel of consciousness. Everything that these people are talking about and teaching comes from our ancestors. I'm consistently saying that. So they're just messengers. And if our ancestors sent messengers, however they were supposed to serve, take the best and leave part and leave the rest. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about moving beyond the race-based consciousness. Do we really want racism, white supremacy to end or not? Because what would that entail? What kind of world, how would that world actually operate and think and live and function? I said Haiti didn't have a plan for peace. They had a plan for war, but didn't have a plan for peace and have been paying for it ever since. Do we have a plan for peace? Do we have a plan post-racism, white supremacy? Can we even fathom in our mind's eye that concept? Or are we steeped in the honeycomb mind, talking about Republicans and Democrats and screaming over Trump and screaming over Candace Owens and screaming over et cetera, caught up in the web? And it's not even the real web. It's the honeycomb web you're seeing in the background of my screen. So it's all, to me, it's like theater. Which character do you resonate with most? That's what, not the Bible, not talking, or the scriptures talking about them in a theatrical place, in a theatrical point, but in a broader scope of what I'm saying. Which characters do you resonate with most in the Bible? Which characters do you resonate most with in the Quran? Which characters do you resonate most with in history? Ancient people, there's a whole section in there that talks about when our men started buying slaves in Europe. You like that period of history better, or do you like the 20th dynasty when the Nubian pharaohs came back into Egypt and had to restore order? They'll tell you that they came and ruled for a short amount of time. No, they came and usurped in order to get Egypt back to where it originally was, which was always connected back to and tied into Nubia, because Nubia was the mother of Kemet. This is why I say I don't, you know what I mean? I don't feel no type of way about, highlighting other cultures and other races that are bringing wisdom into the fold. I'm the black. I'm speaking for and representing God and righteousness and love. Isn't that enough? What this gentleman was saying in this video was so powerful and so profound, and I wanted to show that and play that for the parents or the potential parents or just all of us that are seeing ourselves through these very, even if you're not, it's not about you having children, it's about how much further you are than what you think you are, how much better you're doing than what you actually give yourself credit for. You're doing so much better than you think. We're doing so much better than what our parents were doing at our age, not just in terms of the financial and things that we've accomplished on a career level or education, etc. But the fact that we're actually having real conversations about spirituality, mindfulness, wellness, well-being, taking care of your body. So there's a whole new plethora of conscious beings that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s that are outpacing a lot of these youngsters, not just physically, but in terms of the sharpness of their minds. Again, outwit, outsmart, outplay. Are you in the real game? It's a rhetorical question, but I think it's a good question.
My question is, I lost my mother this year.
You lost her? How clumsy of you.
She's transitioned to the other side, so I can't see her.
Well, you haven't lost her. You know where she is.
Yeah, I just can't see her.
It's very important that we actually discuss the difference in the way you express that.
Okay.
Because that's the reason why so many of you experience grief when you could be experiencing connection. You think of people transitioning back into spirit as a loss.
Okay.
Instead of a gain, instead of an extension, instead of an expansion of your family, instead of them luring you into more connection, stretching you to be able to pick them up in spirit, which is one of the reasons why they leave when they leave. Mm-hmm. To get you to start focusing yourself on your own spirituality, the fact that you are there with them, mm-hmm. and by understanding that that connection never goes away, still part of your family, still engaged with you. The idea then is that if you stop experiencing that as a loss, many times when people on your planet, I understand in the beginning, it may be a little shocking. You may be unfamiliar with it. You may be disoriented and you experience the idea of grief. We get that, and that's fine. But later, if you haven't allowed yourself to stretch and allow yourself to connect to them in spirit in the way that they're inviting you to do so, to know that they're always with you when you need them, mm-hmm. then anytime they try to make a connection with you, you may suddenly start to think of them and feel grief again. Mm-hmm. The grief that all of you often feel is them attempting to get a message to you to say, I'm okay, but because you're experiencing my connection as a loss, you feel it as grief instead of as joy. Mm-hmm. So because you're funneling that energy through a negative belief system that says you've lost them. Mm-hmm.
when in fact just the opposite is the case.
I wanted to play that video. There's a few people in the membership channel that I've actually spoken to myself that I know are dealing with various stages of grief. So I wanted to play that for you guys. And then I also wanted to, what he said, the point that he made about funneling energy. I can't even read my writing. Funneling energy through negative beliefs. So he's obviously talking about the ancestral realm and reconnecting with loved ones that have transitioned. Point 100% taken. And I wanted to stretch the point, if you will, using his terminology, and that concept about funneling energy through negative beliefs. We have to start really checking our minds, checking our thinking, being on post 100% of the time that you are awake and conscious, not like cracking the whip. This is not a crack the whip type of situation. That's not going to work. This is observing with loving, compassionate eyes what's happening inside of your mind. Observing it and viewing it without judgment, without criticizing or disrespecting yourself in your own mind. Because we're sending out prayers, setting up manifestations, collecting desires, having wants and needs that we're not able to make manifest because we have negative belief systems that are infiltrating our blessings. Intention is everything. Even when you don't know the answer, the fact that you're asking the question and asking for the answer is a beautiful, powerful intention. It has to be made manifest. Some of us aren't even asking the questions. Why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel so unfulfilled? Why am I feeling lost? What is it that I really, truly want to do? What does my authentic path look and feel like? Finding it, claiming it, discovering it, having a reference point for it, picking and choosing all of the different delicacies of this life and deciding which ones you want to experience for yourself. Why not? These people at the top of the pyramid sitting in these positions of power, that's exactly what they're doing. The people who are not striving to live in righteousness, who don't care about the next man, who have no compassion and love and empathy in their heart, who aren't trying to pull anybody up in a system along the way. It's what they're doing. They ain't even doing the real work. And they got access at abundance in some form of fashion. What makes you think it couldn't be you or us? Idolatry was the thing that came, the word that's been repeated, idolatry and demigod and savior. These words keep bouncing around in my mind. I'm going to put my nature back up because that's just the vibe that I need right now. And I think I made the point. You see the little honeycomb. It's my artistic contribution to whatever. Okay, there we go. Finding your authentic path, claiming it, discovering it, using it as a reference point. It may take longer, but well, actually, this is a meme that I had saved earlier that I was going to read. I wrote it down, but I also saved it. It may take longer, but the moves and impact are forever legendary. And who's to say what legendary means? What's your idea of legendary? The work you do on yourself will show in the connections that stay and in the ones that fade away. The work you do on yourself will show in the energy you tolerate and in the vibrations you reject. The more inner work you do, the more shifts you start to see in your outer world. So, as I've mentioned, this concept of balance between indulgence and discipline. So when we talk about love, and I think sometimes we get this misconception that love is come one, come all. But you don't invite the devil to dinner, right? Rule of thumb, so to speak. And obviously we always talk about being of service, right? And being, for the less fortunate, et cetera, et cetera. So that goes without saying. But love is inclusive, and then love is exclusive. And a lot of us don't love ourselves exclusively. Because if we did, there's no way that we would allow certain people, places, and things, including jobs, including careers, including mistakes, past situations, to be governing and ruling us in the present time. So imagine something you did 10 years ago is still present, ruling over you in this time in 2024. And it's all happening in the mind. And because it's happening in the mind, everything that's happening in your physical reality is manifesting a variation of that same frequency to complete, keeping you locked in a cycle and in a cipher of self-ridicule and self-judgment and disempowerment. And you think it's God judging you. When it's just a mirror. If you could see yourself through the eyes and through the lens of the way that the creator or source energy sees you, there's no way we could be as harmful in our thinking, as uncareful and uncompassionate as we are in the way that we take care of ourselves. So when I talk about self responsibility and self accountability, I'm also talking about the way that you or we or all of us take care of ourselves. Why wouldn't that be a part of the conversation in self accountability and self awareness? We can talk about it on the collective level in the community, what the men should be doing in order to affect the young people and the girls, and what the women should be doing in terms of keeping the house and making sure that the family is intact, et cetera, et cetera. How come we can't talk about it in terms of how we treat ourselves? Idolatry is playing itself out on 1,000 different levels right now in the collective consciousness. This is why when I say observing what's happening with Candace Owens and all of the polarizing that's happening in not only that situation, then I'm just talking about it because it's fresh. You talk about a honeycomb mind. Think about, okay, Russia just had a terrorist attack. Remember the train derailments, the whole UFO fiascos, all of the high swinging fluctuations of currency and the potential fear of what that it could encompass moving forward. Blackouts, recessions, government corruption, the situation happening in Haiti, the situation happening in the Congo, the situation happening in Palestine, what we know is happening in Chicago right now, what we know is happening in all the inner cities and in the hoods across America. Extreme suffering and chaos. And what they do to keep those patterns and those cycles reinforced is they have visible demigods, visible idols, and seen and unseen saviors. The savior complex is one of the things that is being purged right now from the human psyche, because it's been you the whole time. Now, yes, great men and women and prophets and messengers and spiritual teachers and guides and, dare I say, angels have come among us for eons of time, since the beginning of time. Absolutely. But they were all pointing you back to you. Not on some arrogant, cocky, egotistic, you are the one and true God. No, nothing like that. Microcosm and macrocosm type conversation. As above, so below. Ye are all God's children of the Most High God. That type of vibration. So this savior complex, which is going to be at a peak level during this fiasco of a campaign, this circus of a campaign, the whole political arena to me is just theater. If it's all theater, what? They're all actors in some form or another. Why are we getting all riled up and angry about these things? Why are we so emotionally and invested and involved in these things? And if we're going to be emotionally and invested and involved, then let's talk about all the things that are active in the vibration of Black culture that are harmful and detrimental to us. The stakes are high right now. So it's incumbent upon you and incumbent upon me and us to do our best to tap into our authentic self, to find her, to find him. To decide if there's anything in your life that you want to be great at, that you want to be excellent at, that you want to excel at. Is there anything? Have you thought about it? Are you thinking about it? Are you working on it? Are you working towards it? We need to be challenging ourselves and studying ourselves on all four dimensions of self. This is why I say the stakes is higher. This is why I say supreme beings are being forged through the fire. Because I know if you're striving to be righteous right now, that there's pressure coming from somewhere, something, somebody's, some situations. We're being fortified right now. And it's a heavy, heavy cross to carry, trust me. In no way am I trying to minimize it, because ooh. But you have to know when using spiritual discernment that if it's so easy to go in the direction that everybody else is going, all you have to do is pick up the phone or send the email and it's a done deal. But striving to be righteous and do right and be a good, loving, kind, compassionate human being, which seems like everybody is taking for granted at this point. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Yeah, but would you ever take it off? That type question, that type vibe. All false idols are being destroyed in the upper and lower realms of consciousness. So that means savior, meaning some particular prophet or messenger coming back to save you as a savior, not to be confused with arming you with tools and resources to manifest your highest and best self so that you can have and build and connect to source energy, to God yourself, because there is no separation anyway. And that's the only thing that a true righteous leader or prophet or teacher or messenger of God should be doing anyway. False idols of lower consciousness, meaning social media influencers, meaning celebrities, meaning political pundits, meaning the Candace Owens or the Alex Jones or the Mark Lamont Hill or the what's your boy's name? Roland Martin, or I'm just throwing out some random names of people that I've watched over the last couple of days, just kind of checking in and seeing how everybody was feeling about, because everybody's been talking about this. So the upper and lower, and I know we can listen to these people and they not be demigods, right? I'm not saying that. Intelligent people, people who are self-aware, again, observing, viewing, maybe participating in the conversation, but definitely not getting unraveled or emotionally outwitted, outsmarted, and outplayed. All false idols are being destroyed. It's also on a spiritual level talking about fear and self-doubt. It can't live in the space of the person that you're striving to become. It can't survive. The things that we used to do aren't working. The things that I used to do are not working. I'm tell you that 100,000%. And I don't mean in my whole life. I just mean in certain regards. This is how I know I'm being tested and challenged to evolve to another level of myself. Because in a certain regard, things that I used to do on autopilot aren't working anymore. And I know if you're listening to me, most of you guys are going to be able to resonate with that. All false idols must be destroyed, even if it's something beneath the surface that you haven't, that you thought you dealt with, and it was already healed, and now all of a sudden it's coming back up. What is it evoking? Fear, abandonment issues, neglect. Those are false idols. Lack of love, disconnected, separated, suffering, anxiety, depression, all false idols. So if we're experiencing any of them, if we're radiating any of those vibrations, then that's the work. That's what's going to get you on the next side, the other side of yourself, becoming, being. We should be challenging ourselves consistently in terms of all four dimensions of ourselves: mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. I have established and am continuing to try to do things with us collectively as a group to that end. That's what the book club, the meditation, etc., what those things are for. So that's a contribution to that. And whether you participate in that or not, this is what's the solution? That's one. Outwit, outsmart, outplay. I think that's what I'm going to call the video. I'm going to end on that, and then I'm going to title it that. Outwit, outsmart, outplay. Yeah, maybe I'll add something else to it, but outwit, outsmart, outplay. Yeah, I might spin it a little bit. I might remix it, but I think that's it. I hope you have enjoyed this message. Let me see how long. I think I've been talking for roughly an hour now. That's a good amount of time. I had some notes, really wanted to emphasize the authentic self, the authentic path, and finding that and claiming that. This noise, all the noise going on in the world is going to be there. It's just noise. It is what it is. It's background noise. We have to be actively intentional about living in our authentic self, about deciding what we want our lives to look and feel like, and not leaving it to chance. So it takes mental, spiritual, emotional focus all the time, not just on what you don't want, not just on how much you hurt, not just on all the coulda, woulda, shouldas or the mistakes, but what I want my life to look and feel like, what I want the people around me in my space to look and feel like, and the experiences that I want to have in life. Look at how beautiful and large and vast this planet is. There's no reason to play small. And I'm going to leave you guys with that. Outwit, outsmart, outplay. Peace and love.